Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a big show lined up for you. Let's get right on into it. All right, recruiting update. We've got a player that's getting ready to announce. We actually have about 4 players that are going to announce over the next 4 days that are going to be pretty interesting, and the Vols are in on all 4. I don't know if they'll get more than 1 or 2 of them, but we're going to talk about that. Also, a Florida YouTuber has responded to the QB controversy. They've had a lot of controversies when it comes to QBs. This is just the most recent one. So I know there's probably a few Florida fans that are watching this. I'll just go ahead and do the controversy first. That way you probably don't care about our recruiting. Normally I do these videos. They're pretty much for Tennessee Vols fans. And look, I give the Florida Gators grief because they're kind of my nemesis. They've always been the Newman to my Seinfeld.
Hello, Newman.
Hello, Jerry.
And it started kind of with Spurrier, really in the 90s, when Philip Fulmer probably could have won 2 or 3 natties, and he won 1 primarily because of Spurrier. And he always gave us a lot of grief. You know, you can't spell citrus without a unity. And I actually thought it was pretty funny. The guy was, he was actually a funny dude, but a great coach. Now, he didn't do that well at Washington in the NFL, but he was a great college coach. And, I mean, he won at South Carolina. He won like 11 games there. So, I mean, the guy can coach. But the last 25 years or so, the Gators have kind of had our number, which has kind of stunk, and it's annoying. So, you know, when I get a chance to have a little fun with them, I do. Now, what created this was, first of all, they've lost 2 quarterbacks, and I don't know what the deal is with quarterbacks in Florida. They just can't seem to get one. They're struggling right now. They've got a couple of transfer guys that, you know, they're okay, but they're very average, and I wouldn't want to go into an SEC season under those circumstances. And they've lost 2 big-time recruits that flipped. One flipped to, well, one was Jaden Rashada, and you know that whole situation. That was a big nightmare with the NIL and all that. And I had quite a bit of sport on that one. I showed you the contract, and there it is. I owe you $13 million. And it was real because right there's the logo. So that's how I knew. But it didn't hold up for some reason. So I know that's why Rashada didn't wind up there. But then they had another guy they were reclassifying, which I will give High Top Sports credit for. He wasn't real excited about that, which I wasn't either. It's like the guy's going to come from a sophomore to a freshman in college right away. That just didn't seem to make a lot of sense to me. But anyway, that's what he did. And then all of a sudden at the last minute, he flipped to Ole Miss. And that surprised everybody. I'm sure it shocked the Florida Gators because he was going to be part of the 2023 class. And granted, you know, he'd have been a freshman, a 17-year-old. He's not going to do that much for him, but, you know, he could start working towards the future. Well, that didn't work out because of Lane Kiffin. So all of a sudden, you know, I see something on YouTube, and it's a show about another flip for Florida. And I'll actually show you what it looked like. And right here it was. Flip alert, and it had DJ Lagway on the thumbnail, which is a really good thumbnail, by the way, because I guess that's a app that turns a picture into sort of a photo, but that looks really good. But anyway, it popped up, and so I watched it. All right, now here's what threw me off. I was incorrect about one thing, and that was this right up here, and I'll blow this up, but it showed live, okay? Right there it showed live, and the whole thing it showed live. So I thought it was live, that they'd come out in the evening, done a video to try to tamp this down. So again, they'd already lost 2 quarterbacks, so I thought, you know, obviously they want to tamp this down because this is not good. In the video, they said Coach Hayes had heard the rumor. And Coach Hayes, I had actually just featured several days ago when he had got the Simmons interview, which nobody could get, and it was the dad of the young man that had flipped from Florida to Ole Miss. So, you know, the thing about Coach Hayes is he's really well respected. And he did a great interview, by the way. It wasn't an easy interview where he just threw softballs. No, I mean, he asked him tough questions, and he got answers. And it turned out the reason that he had flipped was because of Lane Kiffin. He just wanted his son. Well, actually, his son wanted to work with Lane Kiffin, and he wanted his son to work with Lane Kiffin, and they were just more comfortable. Plus, I think he thought his son could play baseball for Ole Miss a little easier than he could for Florida. So that was the 2 reasons, which makes sense. Lane Kiffin's, you know, kind of known as a QB guru. I hate saying that about Lane Kiffin, too. You know, that's another guy that's, you know, kind of creaked us for about 10 years when he left us stranded. And then we wound up with Dooley. That didn't work out so good. But anyway, so the combination of the video pops up, it says live, and they're talking about they're trying to tamp this down, and they've already lost 2, and I'm going, man, are they really going to lose 3? So I did a video on it, and I did show Coach Hayes, and he does like to have fun at Florida's expense, and I did show that.
Gator, you online? You on the line, Gator?
Oh yeah. You got a bull gator.
I got a. Hold on.
Hey, pull in hard for the line snap.
I got a big one, Mama. Mama, I got a big gator on the line.
All right. So anyway, he does like to have a little bit of sport with him, which I thought that was hilarious, by the way. He's obviously got a really good sense of humor. Coach Hayes, that is. But he's also very well respected, and he's in the know. He knows the parents of a lot of these players and a lot of the players themselves. And so that gave it some credence. Now, granted, it's a rumor, and I understand that. But when you've already lost 2, and then they come out doing what I thought was live, that I thought that was a reasonable story, so I did a video on it. And some of the Florida folks weren't happy about it.
It's time for Born to Fly, ladies and gentlemen. Get your cameras ready.
Now, the one mistake I made was that it wasn't live. Now, I've never done live. I've been doing this for about a year on this channel, and I usually just do pre-recorded stuff. But I do know that you can do live, and then you can cut segments out of it and make it new and put it out as a video by itself. And I guess that's what he had done, which that does make sense in hindsight. So I did make a mistake there, and, I got to admit I was wrong about that.
I was not exactly right.
But you can certainly see it was an honest mistake because it said live. And all the things that fell together on that, Coach Hayes and all of that, would make sense. So anyway, I did a video on it. The Florida fans didn't much care for it. And they commented. I responded to, I think, just about every one of them, most of them anyway. Because if you comment on one of my videos, I'm going to read it. And sometimes I'll respond to it. Usually I will. Unless it's just something ridiculous or I don't understand it. And, there is a possibility I just miss 1 or 2 here and there, but I try to get to all of them. But anyway, he did respond, I guess it was last night on live, about this. And he, look, he knows it's YouTube. He knows how this works. So he wasn't all tore up about it. And the truth is, this guy's got a great channel. He just does. He kind of reminds me of, and I'm going to talk a little bit of YouTube here, Boogie Bentley, talking Vols over in Knoxville. That's what this guy kind of reminds me of. I think he's been on YouTube for a couple of years. He's got about 15,000 subs. I'm talking about High Top Sports. And he's going to hit 25 at some point, probably in the next 12 months. And then he may blow up. He's doing this, and Florida's not very good. They've had 2 losing seasons in a row, and he's built up this subscribers. So I'm not going to be a bit surprised if he does, really, really well. I've been watching his channel for maybe 6 months off and on, and I've featured him probably at least half a dozen times. And primarily because I'm trying to keep my eye on Florida, those Gators, and because he's pretty real about stuff. Now, he serves the Kool-Aid like most YouTubers do. And look, I've served my share of Kool-Aid when it comes to the Vols. I understand that. And I also featured a few times Allie Peak, and I think she's fairly new to YouTube, but I think she's doing really well. And she was in that video as well. Now, she serves even more Kool-Aid than he does, and again, we all do. But she's very connected to Florida Gators, either through family or something along those lines, or maybe she played there as a sport. But she's very connected and appears to have a lot of sources over there. Now, she comes across very professionally. I think she's obviously had a job in media, or maybe she was an anchor at one of the cable channels around there or something along those lines, because she knows how to present herself really well. And between those two, between High Top Sports and then peek into the Vols, I can pretty much keep up what's going on with Florida, which has been, look, they have been all over the place. They've had 2 losing seasons in a row. They're recruiting recently in the last 2 weeks, and I hate to say this, but they're doing pretty good, okay? But with I don't know what the deal is with quarterback. They cannot seem to get a quarterback. It's the strangest thing. I mean, they're loading up on defensive line and all these good players. And they're right now, I think, either 3rd or 4th in the country in recruiting. But there's some QB issue here. And look, it's the most important position on the field is QB. And they're struggling in that department. And I don't understand why. Look, this is the Florida Gators. I really thought they would have no problem in the transfer portal just getting a really good quarterback, some high-end dude. Because, look, the starting position's wide open. at an SEC school of that level, that should have been super easy. So I don't know what the problem is with Billy Napier and QBs. It doesn't make sense, but it's there. But anyway, this is where he responded. And again, this was live. It looks the same. He's got live up there, but this actually was live, I guess.
I'm going to talk about, obviously, this Tennessee fan clipped took a video clip of our video and, had some fun with it, I guess you could say. So I didn't want to address it. I typically don't care. I actually don't mind people making videos about us or about what we talk about. I think it's part of the game. I don't have any disrespect towards him at all. He did what he's supposed to do. He had a few things that were incorrect, and that's kind of what I'm going to address. And I'm going to kind of take a couple jabs because for a Tennessee fan to be talking just seems a little absurd, in my opinion. So we'll go from there. It seems like a good guy, and obviously no hard beef. He's not a very good talker if he was trying to be, and I'll get into that a little bit later on.
So anyway, he was pretty cool about it, and he's right about that on the on being a crap talker. What's it going to be? It's going to be me going, oh, well, y'all have had 2 losing seasons in a row. And he's going to be like, well, we beat you 12 or 13 times out of 15 years. And then I'm going to go, oh, yeah, well, you can't keep a quarterback. And then he's going to go, well, we've had your number forever. So it's just going to be back and forth nonsense. And I'm not going to do that because I actually respect the dude. I'm telling you, he's doing a good job. He really is. I would not feature a YouTuber on my show if they weren't entertaining and good at what they do. I just wouldn't do it. And you keep an eye on this dude. If you want to know what's going on with Florida, watch this guy. Just watch him or watch Allie. And then they have several others that are good. Those are just 2 of my favorites. But anyway, it didn't get anything ugly. And if you want to watch the rest of his response, just check it out. It was a live video. And let me see what it said on it. It said, "Is Gus right about UCF?" So just look that up under High Top Sports, and you can watch the rest of his response. But anyway, let's get into this recruiting. And I do want to say one other thing about the YouTube community and all the other YouTubers out there. I'm just going to tell you who some of my favorites are. And if you don't want to hear this and you want to get on to recruiting, just fast forward past this. But if you're looking to keep up with some teams, I study the YouTube world as best I can. And there's some good ones out there that I like to watch. Now, if you want to watch, if you want to see what's going on with Alabama, Matt Be Great does a really good job. Now, he kind of covers a whole bunch of stuff. He's been super successful. But he's a good one. And then Bama Standard brings in the ex-former players, and that's really a good channel. And then if you want authenticity, let me tell you something. Kangaroo Black does a great job. Now, some of these folks I'm talking about, there's going to be some profanity in there. And so if you don't like that, it may not be for you. But when it comes to being authentic and loving his team, and just being what a lot of people look for on YouTube is just that authentic, regular guy talking about the team that he loves, and he's very knowledgeable about it, is Kangaroo Black. He just does a great job. And he knows his Alabama Crimson Tide. He calls him my Alabama Crimson Tide, which is some of the stuff that he does. But anyway, I find him very entertaining. And like I said, I'm going to continue to feature him from time to time, especially when it comes to Alabama. Now, hopefully, I'm not feeling good about going to Tuscaloosa, honestly. I think it's going to be tough. And, but we did get that victory at Neyland. It's going to be rough. But, they do have a QB problem. And maybe Joe starts hitting his stride, and all of a sudden we become very dangerous. So we could win down there, but that's going to be tough. And then, again, we got to go down and play those Gators. Now, I've enjoyed, the last several months of having just beaten them, but winning down in the swamp. Now, we're going to be favored, and we should win, but it's some of that battered Vols syndrome is still there from the past, and I'm sure a lot of y'all feel it. It's not going to be easy to win down the swamp, but boy, wouldn't that be great? So anyway, let's get into recruiting. And this is on 247, Go Vols. This is Ronan O'Connell. He is going to be committing. Now, this guy's 6'4", 290. It's between us and Clemson. Clemson has been a thorn in our side. But anyway, he's going to do it the 4th of July at 2 p.m. So that's pretty cool. And it's between us, really us and Clemson. And then I'm going to give you an update on some of our other recruits that are going to be committing very soon. Williams Winery. Now, we don't have a date on him. He's the number 1 player for us that we're trying to get. And, of course, Mike Matthews, another guy, we don't have a date certain on when he's going to commit, hopefully in July. And then on down the list, Ryan Wingo. Now, this Edric Houston, I've not heard a ton about him, but they say he's warm on Tennessee, but I've not heard a ton. Ryan Wingo, he's a guy that we got some crystal balls for, but now we're hearing maybe Texas on him, but we still don't have a date on him. Elijah Rushing, he is going to be committing on the 6th of July, so just in a few days, and that's between us and Oregon. And he's leaning Oregon's what my understanding is, but we just got his last visit, so maybe we can pull that one out. Jordan Ross, I haven't heard a ton on him. There's Cam Franklin. He's a guy that, boy, this is a guy we need to get, and we've had crystal balls for him, so I'm feeling good about picking him up. Daniel Calhoun is going to be committing on the 5th, just a few days from now, and that's between us and Georgia, and he is leaning Georgia, unfortunately. He's been to Tennessee 4 times. He's been to Georgia 5, so I think it's between us and Georgia. And also William Satterfield, who's a 4-star offensive lineman, and we need more offensive linemen, as you know. And he is going to be committing on the 7th, and he is a tackle, and we could use a tackle. And it's between us and, again, Clemson. I'm getting a little tired of Clemson. They're getting in our way. Just move out of the way, Clemson. But, again, we'll have a good shot at him as well. So that's sort of what's going on with recruiting. It looks like it's going to be very active the next few days, starting tomorrow. And then Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, there's going to be some commits going on. And I think that's going to happen the entire month of July. So hopefully we pick up some real nice commits. And then at the end of this thing, we'll pick up some really nice commits before the season gets started, because I think a lot of these guys are going to want to commit prior to the season getting started. And to the High Top Sports guy and Allie Peak, I appreciate y'all being cool about it. Look, it's nothing. It's really nothing personal. It really isn't. And y'all do have good content, and I wish you the freaking best. I really do. Not your team. I don't like your team, but y'all are okay. Anyway, if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Lets me know to continue to cover the Vols and all our opponents, the SEC, and troll from time to time. Yes, I do that. And if you've not subscribed, it's on your right, my left. Just hit that little button. I would appreciate it. And right over his most recent video. And YouTube thinks you'll love it. We'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.